Hello Retro Race fans, it's time once again. The Downforce Grand Prix World Series continues and it's round 11 of 15 as we head to the beautiful Shah Alam circuit in Selangor in Malaysia. Jake Sanson here. We're into the final third of the 2020 Downforce Grand Prix World Series for ex-Formula 1 teams that no longer compete in the world of Formula 1 racing and never won a Grand Prix. They've been chosen by our specially selected managers before the start of the season. No manufacturers are permitted. The only F1 drivers on the grid are former test or race drivers within Formula 1 that never won a race. Any engine supplier currently no longer in Formula 1 and any tyre company of their choice. They've been racing for 10 times over the course of the season thus far, and it's proving to be quite the thrilling battle over the last 10 events. Last time out was at Chennai in India, and here is the championship standings after that event. Jean-Eric Vergne has a massive lead now over Kamui Kobayashi. It's just a question of keeping hold of that points lead. Marc Genet, Andre Lotterer, Lucas de Grassi and Timo Glock are all very tightly in together. Brendan Hartley ganging up on them as well, with Nico Hulkenberg still there in 8th place ahead of Paul di Resta, and Sebastian Buemi no longer in the championship fight, as of course he is no longer on the grid. Sebastian Bourdais is being caught by the two Prosts now, Jaime Alguersuari and Pedro de la Rosa. Nick Heidfeld in 14th place, although he has now been replaced for this round of the championship and for the remainder of the season, I'm assuming, by Takuma Sato, who rejoins the team for the first time since 2008. Stoffel van Dorn is creeping up the standings. He's now tied with Heidfeld on points, so he should overtake him at his next point scoring opportunity. Alexander Rossi is in front of Scott Dixon. Bruno Senna has now departed the Onyx team. He's been replaced by Robin Freins, the Dutchman, and Anthony Davidson is tied with him on points. Susie Wolff and Marcus Ericsson are now tied on 10 points apiece, as Ericsson has been banging in some points for Midland. Then Gabriele Tarquini in front of James Courtney, with Taki Inui and Luciano Berti tied on 2, and Pedro Diniz and Pascal Wehrlein tied on 1, after the latter scored his first point last time out at India. In the team standings, well, it's obviously looking quite academic for the BAR Playlift team. They have a very exciting lead now in front of Arrows Alfa Romeo. Mana are in 3rd place, but catching them up big style. Super Aguri getting more points on the board, up to 4th place in the standings. AGS are just ahead of Minardi, with Prost now creeping into the top 7. The bottom 6 had a balance of performance payout, so now we could see some improvements from Simtech, Onyx and Lola, with BMS Italia, Midland and 40 also getting that £2 million payoff. But it should be a fascinating race here in the gorgeous tropic of Shah Alam in Malaysia. Selangor, a beautiful city. And right at the side of the circuit, we can make out the very striking Shah Alam Stadium. So let's head down to the management green room and have a word with a few of our team managers as we get ready to go racing here in Malaysia. Let's have a word first of all with Ryan Ferris, fresh off the back of his Onyx team deciding that Bruno Senna was not going to continue with the team anymore. Bruno is obviously focusing on his Mazda program in the Group C Challenge, and they'll be racing again on Friday at Adelaide. But for the Onyx team, a new recruit, Robin Freins, and he's on the front row of the grid, Ryan.
Takuma Sato, actually.
Oh, I do apologise. Yes, Takuma Sato. My apologies.
Yeah, he's on pole position, which is amazing stuff for the team. He showed amazing speed during the young driver test at Brunel and was only a couple tenths off of the pole time there. So yeah, we're looking forward to good things. The only worry is the last 2 races we haven't had a single retirement, so I'm kind of worried that our luck might be over in terms of that.
So it's obviously a very trying time for the team, and they wanted to go as fast as they possibly can with things, but it's not been the easiest of situations for everybody. So hopefully it will be a very exciting run. But now that the Onyx has got a little bit more power behind it and a new driver in the shape of Takuma Sato, how do you feel you guys can manage heading into the season's final 5 races?
I feel a lot more confident. I feel now we've got Sato with us, he can potentially go for more podiums. We've only had the one podium with Senna earlier on at Marrakesh. As for Bourdais, obviously not the best of qualifyings, but he generally tends to come on well during the race, so we potentially could get some points back.
Okay, well, hopefully it's going to be a really rip-roaring race for our competitors, but it should be an absolutely thrilling one. Good luck to Sebastian Bourdais and Takuma Sato, pole position in his first ever race in the Downforce Grand Prix World Series. Let's have a chat with Sam Hall, the Manor team, still banging in some good performances and some good points over the season. 5 races to go. Let's see if it's going to be a good end to the year for you guys.
Yeah, I mean we've got some better performance in the car now, so hopefully slightly stronger qualifying than usual. We can.
Oh, we seem to have lost you there, Sam. Apologies, but we were just going to ask whether the team had the gumption to get a couple more wins on the board. Obviously, there was one win earlier in the year for Brendan Hartley. Can you add any more?
Well, yeah, we're hoping that we can get a couple more wins, but you never take anything for granted in this championship. It's going to be a bit difficult.
Okay, well, good luck, and hopefully it's going to be a very strong race on the horizon for you guys. Good luck with it. And finally, let's have a word with Prost's Tom Cairns, as things are obviously going to be very exciting for the team. Is there going to be a strong run for the squad as they head into this final 5 races of the year?
I'd like to think so, yeah, because Al-Ghashwari has continued his fine form over the last few races by out qualifying De La Rosa again in 4th position. And I think we're aiming for a similar kind of show to what we had in Chennai on... when did we do the last race? It's Wednesday today, so it was it Friday last week?
Was indeed,
yeah,
yes, was indeed.
So yeah, I think it'll be a similar kind of show. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what the race strategy is like and find where the overtaken spots will be, because I feel that we could be in for a similar kind of race actually to Chennai. So if that's going to be the case, then I think we could well be in for a cracker of an event here today in Malaysia.
Could be absolutely fantastic. So good luck to all of our managers. Hopefully it will be a strong one and we'll get some great racing here in Malaysia. So obviously a very exciting race on the horizon. Let's find out how this circuit is going to look for our race contenders as we battle around the circuit. It will be an absolutely thrilling competition for all of our competitors. I do apologise. We seem to have lost our screen for a moment. We will come back to it very shortly with a flying lap around the course. Obviously, the competitors want to be very much at the sharp end of the field, and they will give us plenty of exciting action and drama in this particular race. There are 5 races to go, and the next one after this is going to be on the legendary Fuji circuit in Japan, and that is going to be our final race of the year in Asia. And of course, there will be some truly spectacular races to come after that point as well. So let's fly around this Shah Alam circuit, as the competitors will obviously find it very, very gripping on this very short but very fast circuit. It's Sebastian Bourdais that gives us a ride around the course into the first chicane. It's actually not as narrow as some of the other courses have been, and that should give us plenty of opportunities for overtaking. It's also quite fast in places, so the cars will get quite an opportunity to storm up the order and give us plenty of entertainment and drama. So we should see some thrilling encounters and some great battles with the drivers banging in some good performances. And we will see some truly exciting race action from them as the battles are set to take us into the front end of the field. But we will see lots of wheel-to-wheel drama from these guys as the field battles away. And obviously we will have an epic run from the very start of the race. So let's see how this circuit gives us in terms of entertainment and drama. We'll have plenty of it on this very narrow circuit. But we will see some absolutely epic drama from them as they battle their way through. So an absolutely terrific start and a good battle to this race is in the offing. There's Bourdais completing his lap. It's going to be truly fantastic. Here is the starting grid for our race. And we're going to see some absolutely epic performances from these guys. Takuma Sato and Robin Frines on the front row of the grid. Apologies, the graphic is incorrect. It should be Frines in the Super Aguri and Sato in the Onyx. That will be correct on the race itself. Hulkenberg and Al-Ghashwari, Jean-Eric Verne and Pedro de la Rosa. Then Kamui Kobayashi and Scott Dixon from Lucas de Grassi and Paul de Resta. Stoffel van Dorn and Timo Glock on the 6th row of the grid from Sebastian Bourdais and Brendan Hartley. Pascal Wehrlein and Alex Rossi from Andre Lotterer and Pedro Diniz. Mark Genet and Marcus Ericsson. On row 11 of the grid, it is James Courtney and Gabriele Tarquini. And then Anthony Davidson and Taki Inui with Susie Wolf and Jean-Denis Delatraz completing the grid. We seem to have had a slight glitch. I do apologise. The race has actually got underway So apologies for that, but we will now pick it up as we are in position with the cars coming around the first few corners. It's been an absolutely incredible start for Stoffel van Dorn. He has leapt into the lead in the Simtek after a crazy start. The first couple of cars not able to get off the line correctly. But we are now into position, and it looks as though Glock has made a relatively good start as well. Sato and Freins got a terrible start from the front row of the grid. I do apologise. The replay has not come up in good position either. I do apologise for us missing that brief moment at the start. But Van Dorn is your leader. De La Rosa and Alguersuari have made terrific starts in the Prost. Oh, and that is one of the Super Gurus struggling. Oh, it's Freins. That's why he got a good start initially, but Freins ended up colliding. I think it was with... I think he ended up nudging one of the Prosts, actually, and has damaged the front wing. So Freins on his debut has already got damage. That is not a great start for the Dutchman. And as a result, Sato got caught out at the start as well. Not the greatest of starts for those two. Apologies for us missing that brief interim at the start. But Van Dorn has made an absolute flyer of a getaway from 11th, avoiding all the carnage, and has got himself into the lead. De La Rosa in second from Alguersuari. And then it is Dixon in 4th place in the second Simtek. Glock is in 5th place. Then Hartley, De Grassi, Sato, Bourdais and Tarquini. And then we have Kobayashi and Davidson from Ericsson, Verline, Hulkenberg. As the field makes its way through. There is Takuma Sato in the Onyx for the first time. Robin Freins, unfortunately, in the Super Aguri from the front row of the grid, ending up with all sorts of difficulties. And again, apologies for us missing the start. I do apologise for that, but we will continue with the race as it is. But it's Van Dorn leading De La Rosa. And De La Rosa running fast. Alguersuari in 3rd position from Dixon and Glock. Then it's Hartley in 6th position. De Grassi in 7th. It's a real topsy-turvy start. Bourdais is 9th, and then Tarquini is up to 10th place. Cracking start then for the BMS Italia. Managed to get himself out of jeopardy. But Kobayashi is 11th, and then Davidson and Ericsson from Verline and Hulkenberg. And then in 16th place is Jean-Eric Verne. What a terrible start for the BAR. He was actually off in the first corner, ran wide, and has now got going again from De Resta, Courtney, Taki Inui and Pedro Diniz. Then it's Susie Wolf, Jean-Denis Delatraz in front of Jenny, Lotterer and Rossi. The two AGSs got caught out as well then. And Robin Freins is down there at the back, having had his damage to the car. Alguersuari bangs in a new fastest lap in 3rd place, trying to close up to the 2 leaders. Both Arrows and BAR getting caught out at the start. So let's see how things progress for our competitors as Bourdais gets his run into the first corner. And the battle really raging. Van Dorn, De La Rosa, Alguersuari, Dixon and Glock, Hartley and De Grassi. Oh, Susie Wolf running deep. And the battle is going to rage again. So the competitors running through in the first couple of laps of racing. Kobayashi 12th, Hulkenberg down to 15th. So big bad starts for BAR. And also for Arrows, several cars went off at the start as a result of the sluggish start from the front row men. It doesn't happen very often, but with cars having to take avoiding action. And De La Rosa making his bid for the lead on the inside of Stoffel van Dorn. Van Dorn defending. Oh, the director's cut at exactly the wrong moment to watch Ericsson, but Van Dorn hangs on to the lead of the race. So Van Dorn is leading, and he hangs on from De La Rosa. So the Spaniard tried his luck, but Van Dorn was not going to let him go through. And as a result of that, Alguersuari's now been backed into Dixon, and Glock is there in P5. So Glock with an opportunity now to try and move his way back into 5th position. So some good starts initially then, but some bad ones as well. And it really has been a topsy-turvy start. But out in front, it is the Simtex and the Prosts. BAR were desperately just hedging their bets. They wanted to finish races. Here's Verline having a look at the Arrows. In fact, the Arrows and BARs are now together on track. The irony of that is not lost on us. 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th. Those 4 cars all together out on circuit. De La Rosa in 2nd place. Alguersuari is 3rd. And then we have Dixon in 4th position in front of Glock, Hartley and De Grassi. Sato, Bourdais and Tarquini. So an absolutely fantastic run so far. Van Dorn is going to lose out to De La Rosa, is he? De La Rosa trying to make the bid for the lead of the race. And De La Rosa is there back on the inside line, but Van Dorn sweeping round the outside to try and hold back the lead. Well defended by Van Dorn, and De La Rosa cuts right in front of teammate Alguersuari to hang on to the position. Van Dorn racing beautifully through the S's, and as they come back on out of the loop, oh, Diniz, that's an engine failure for Pedro Diniz in the Midland. So that is game over for the Diniz Midland. And that's a real shame for Pedro Diniz. Another retirement. Oh dear. Unfortunate then that the Brazilian will not get to the end of this race. So it continues on a rather lackluster season for the Midland squad. But they will be back, of course, in Season 2. All of the managers that are currently racing in the Grand Prix World Series with their current teams will be given the chance to move into the second season with these teams. There is also quite a lot of rather animated and active discussion within the Retro Racing Management League about opening the door to a 1950 Formula One season and then it just moving through the years and playing the Grand Prix season alternatively. So we could well see a very different Grand Prix season, and a very different history written in Grand Prix racing. Tarquini up the inside. Timo Glock trying to make his move as he battles away through from the right-hand side of the course. And Glock has got Hartley and Degrassi breathing down his neck. Takuma Sato, the new boy for Onyx, is still there in 8th place, so still in the top 10. I wish I'm not entirely sure what happened at the start of the race. I do apologise. I was in the middle of working something on OBS and it ended up jumping. As up to the lead comes... Oh, Vern is in trouble. No, sorry, it's Wehrlein. Wehrlein's in trouble in 13th place. And De La Rosa's taken the lead from Van Dorn. All in the same... Oh, fire. Fire at the back of the BAR. Well, that doesn't happen very often. The BAR in trouble. And you certainly don't see too many mechanical gremlins from BAR these days. But I'm afraid Pascal Wehrlein is out of the race, essentially, as his teammate flies by, as does the Lola of Paul Di Resta, who also had a pretty terrible start. But Alguersuari is now chasing down Stoffel Van Dorn in the Simtech, as De La Rosa takes the lead. This is where De La Rosa tried many times to go for Van Dorn. Van Dorn was able to defend on every occasion. Pascal Wehrlein in the BAR finally pulling off, as Alguersuari has got into position, and it looks as though Glock and Hartley have been having a pretty decent battle for 5th position as well. Lots of good overtakes in that particular part of the circuit as we see Pascal Wehrlein being pulled off the circuit and out of the race. There's the race leader now, Pedro De La Rosa in the Prost. Then it is Van Dorn, Alguersuari, Dixon, Glock, Hartley, Degrassi, Sato, and then Bourdais and Tarquini. Well, an absolutely thrilling and fascinating battle. As now Tarquini is going to try and step up the attack on Sebastian Bourdais. He's having a much better run here at Shah Alam. But Andre Lotterer trying to fight back. AGS have not had a great start to this race. Both cars off at the start. So not the best situation from them. There was so much action going on. Unfortunately, I was looking at the wrong button. And obviously must have hit the wrong button for the start of a race when I was also sorting out the starting grid. So the race got going without me. I do apologise for that. But Stoffel Van Dorn in 2nd place now in front of Alguersuari. Alguersuari sweeping to the right-hand side of the circuit. As we see it, it's the left-hand side, of course, for us. And he's going to take 2nd place. He gets the move. So the Prosts are now 1 and 2. And the Simtex are 3 and 4. And that's Glock behind them, trying to defend from Brendan Hartley and Lucas Degrassi. Already plenty of overtaking. So an absolutely fantastic run. But it was a pretty spectacular run of things. De La Rosa, Alguersuari, Van Dorn, Dixon, Glock, Hartley, Degrassi, Sato, Tarquini and Bourdais in the top 10 at the present moment. Then it is Ericsson from Davidson, Hulkenberg, Vern and Kobayashi. And then in 16th is Di Resta from Courtney, Inui and Wolf. With then Rossi, Jenny, Lotterer, Freins, Delatraz and Wehrlein out of the race, as well as Pedro Diniz. So 2 retirements. We're on lap 8. So a very difficult situation. Tom Butterworth officially protesting the start of the race. I'm afraid I can't do anything about the start of the race. What happened, happened. I can only apologise for missing it. I do apologise. So De La Rosa leads the way from Alguersuari and Van Dorn. Dixon, Glock and Hartley. And then it is Degrassi, Sato in 8th place. Tarquini and Bourdais. Here comes Hartley making his bid on the Super Aguri. Is he finally going to get his move on the inside line? Well, Glock is yet again defending up to the inside line and retakes the place. Hartley has no way through. So an absolutely fascinating situation. Whoa, Hulkenberg missing a shift. Now, as he passes the Shah Alam Stadium, I wonder if he's got an issue. Alex Goldschmidt's now protesting against Butterworth simply for protesting. They'll try any trick in the book, these managers. They always do. And there is Kamui Kobayashi fighting after Jean-Eric Verne. These are the two drivers fighting for the championship. And they are both outside the points after a wretched start for both drivers. But all sorts of cars ended up... I think there was initially, because of the contact from Robin Freins, he ended up losing control of the car and ended up delaying several other cars. So that's a result of why so many cars in the field. I only caught the tail end of it, the incident, and then obviously you didn't really catch any of it, unfortunately. I mean, the alternative is to completely reset, but I don't think that's really worth the time and the effort in it. So Brendan Hartley making a push at the inside of the Super Aguri. And he gets the place. Nicely done. But again, Glock defends. And again, Glock is able to contest things. So let's see if Scott Dixon can make a challenge towards Stoffel Van Dorn now. His teammate. Prost's 1 and 2. Simtex 3 and 4. So racing is continuing here at Selangor in Malaysia. On the beautiful Shah Alam circuit, hosted MotoGP in the mid-90s. Of course, in those days it was called Grand Prix Moto 500. But now this is a very different race circuit for these guys as Davidson pits. Now Davidson pits on lap 9. What has happened to Anthony Davidson? Well, it looks to me as though he had a slight issue. Couldn't tell exactly what it was, but certainly Davidson back in the pits and now refueling for the next 30 laps or so as Hartley finally gets the job done on Glock. Hartley gets the job done on Timo Glock with Degrassi in 7th place, Sato in 8th, having originally been in pole position in the Onyx, and then Bourdais in 9th place, Tarquini in 10th. Round the outside. This could be a charge up the inside from the Manor. And again, Degrassi displaces Glock. Although Glock again round the outside moves to defend the place and holds it. So nicely done. Oh, and Degrassi, a little bit of a hiccup there from Sato. Yes, it was. Sato made a driving error there, I think. Let's have a look at it again. As Sato... Oh, look, there was a lock-up from Degrassi. And Sato tried to get on the inside. And Sato actually ended up being held up. So Sato went for a gap that didn't look like it was there in time. So a little bit of a blip there from Takuma Sato as he tried to get the move. In his first ever race, of course, he got pole position and Freins got second in the Super Aguri, but neither driver was able to capitalise on it. By the time they got through, oh, that's an Arrows in trouble again! Nico Hulkenberg with an engine failure. Disaster for the Arrows. Absolutely disastrous. So one of the BAR's out and one of the Arrows cars out now as well. Some of the big two teams are definitely struggling here at Shah Alam in Malaysia. And Taki Inui is into the pits as well with a brake problem. So a brake problem for Taki Inui as the pit crew go to work. And they're obviously getting everything sorted out in the pit lane and they're going to send him out for another run. But Jean-Eric Verne is now up to 12th as a result of Nico Hulkenberg's retirement. But it's devastating bad news for the Arrows team to have lost one of their cars already. And Hulkenberg is now out of the race, I'm afraid. There is the car being pushed back by the marshals. So Hulkenberg is out. Dear oh dear. Well, not the greatest of situations then for either Arrows or BAR with a car each out of the race. And there is the 40 of Taki Inui returning. Oh, Susie Wolf's gone off. Susie Wolf in the Lola. Now, it looks like she's gone off quite a long time ago as well. But she's now trying to get the car moving again. And I'm afraid to say that she's not going to get out of where she is very easily. Trying to figure out whereabouts on the circuit she is there. I think that's the final corner that she's gone off at. But that's definitely dropped her to the back of the field, I'm afraid. As the field is now lapping her. Yes, it's the final turn that Susie Wolf has gone off on, I'm afraid. Out of the race. Out of the race goes the Lola. She's got out of the car. So Susie Wolf throws in the towel in the Lola after spinning off at the final corner and is out of the race. Devastating bad luck. But there's quite a few people who have had the raw end of the deal in terms of luck. A very difficult situation. So, De La Rosa leads the way. Alguersuari second. Van Dorn third. Dixon in 4th place. Hartley is 5th from Glock, Degrassi, Bourdais and Tarquini. Sato in 10th place. Ericsson is 11th from Verne. Kobayashi, De Resta and James Courtney. And then it is Rossi from Jenny and Frines. Lotterer is 19th place. Davidson in 20th. Inui is 21st. And Delatraz is 22nd. The 240s down at the back. And then we have Hulkenberg, Wolf, Wehrlein and Diniz all out of the race. So the battle continues on its way as the cars continue to charge their way around the circuit. It is going to be a tough old race, this one. The Prosts are 1 and 2, but we've been here before with the Prost team. And here in Malaysia, they really want to turn this 1-2 into a 1-2 finish this time. Van Dorn and Dixon, the two Simtex running together this time in 3rd and 4th. Safety in numbers then at the front end of the field. And into the pits comes Tarquini. Tarquini into the pits. Has he got a problem? No, it's just scheduled. He ran very short into the race. That is how he was able to get himself up from about 20th on the grid. He dodged some of the carnage at the start and was on a light fuel load. So Tarquini has made up some big gains here, as is his teammate James Courtney. So some aggressive strategies here in Malaysia, as several drivers were trying to get themselves out of a bad place from qualifying. So this is an absolutely thrilling encounter already. Van Dorn and Dixon, 3rd and 4th. De La Rosa, Alguersuari, 2 seconds apart. Van Dorn and Dixon are another 2.2 back as Anthony Davidson charges after teammate Mark Genet. Well, let's have a look at the fuel strategies, because obviously I'm not the only one who's interested in it. The team manager... Oh, this is Kobayashi making the bid for Jean-Eric Verne. These are the two rivals in the championship, as Timo Glock has a bit of a run out of the final section of the course. But Kobayashi is through into 11th place. So let's have a look at the fuel strategies up and down the grid. De La Rosa on a short run of this 79-lap race, and is going to come into the pits in the next 5 laps or so. Alguersuari likewise. So the Prost's fueling light. The Simtex likewise, although they can go a little bit further, I notice. Hartley, Glock, Degrassi and Bourdais all going for short stints. So it looks like it could be a 2-stop race. Sato going reasonably well. Oh, Marcus Ericsson's got a water leak developing in the Midland. So it looks like Midland's race is over already, unless they can get that car back to the pits and repair it with enough time for him not to lose out too much ground. But certainly, yeah, there is the smoke coming out of the car now. Marcus Ericsson in the Midland. Sadly, no points for Midland today. On lap 14, both of their cars are out. Kobayashi's on a heavy fuel load. That's why he's dropping down the order. That could be the reason why those two are struggling for pace. Verne is being held up behind him a little bit now. Kobayashi on a heavy fuel load in the arrows. Then De Resta on a lighter load, as is Courtney. Rossi's going very low on fuel. Tarquini pitted early, and he's on a 2-stop strategy. Yellow flags, that's for the Midland. So the Midland having the issue as Marcus Ericsson out of the race. Now, yellow flags were out. Robin Frines made the overtaking move under yellow flags. Now that is quite significant. Let's have a look at it again. But I'm fairly sure Robin Frines made an overtaking move while the yellow flags were out. Or did he just... No, he's all right, because the yellow flags were out a little bit later. So Robin Frines is okay there. I thought for a moment he made the overtaking move under yellows, but he didn't. So that is okay. Super Aguri avoiding the penalty. While we watch the Simtex battling away, Alguersuari's being held up by the 40 of Jean-Denis Delatraz. It looks like the other cars up the road are all basically gunning for a 2-stop strategy. Doesn't look like anybody's really hedging their bets on a 1-stopper. 2 stops. So let's see how things are currently going. It does look to me as though pretty much everybody is on a 2-stop strategy. There's Van Dorn on a lighter load. The Prosts are on a slightly shorter fuel load, so they've got a bit of a lead. But the Simtex can go a bit longer, but essentially they're all still on a 2-stop strategy. As Davidson struggling for grip a little bit there in the mid-section of the course. But it's De La Rosa out in front of Alguersuari. Then Van Dorn, Dixon, Hartley, Glock, Degrassi, Bourdais, Sato and Kobayashi. Excuse me. Kobayashi back in the points. Verne is just 1 place out of the points. So a very tricky race start. But Van Dorn finds himself in 3rd position. Davidson in 17th. And Davidson trying to edge his bets. We're looking at Davidson a lot. Has he got a problem developing, I wonder? Either that or the Malaysian director clearly likes watching the Minardis. There's Mark Genet. tucked up behind the AGS as Rossi comes into the pits. That's a scheduled pit stop. So early pit stops at the moment then for several of the cars. But the battle continuing. And obviously De La Rosa still leads the way. Here's Stoffel Van Dorn in third position. Stoffel the Waffle is there in third position, closing in as best as he can on Jaime Alguersuari. He's not letting the Spaniard get too far away. Sebastian Bourdais twitches a little bit there in the midsection, manages to get the car back under control. It's a very tough section, that right-hander, because it's basically got two parts of the apex where you have to kick the car in. And into the pits comes the Manor. Oh, and that really put Bourdais off. So Lucas de Grassi comes into the pits. Now, he's the first driver within this crop of races on the bottom end of the top 10. So de Grassi comes in. And pit stop there, 32 laps is the fuel gauge readout. So that will take him to about lap 47, I would have thought. And that's bang on for a two-stop strategy. On board with Bourdais once again. He was also our camera car for our flying lap around the circuit. A beautiful place this in Selangor in Malaysia. One of the biggest cities after the capital, Kuala Lumpur. And a fabulous part of the world, this. The Shah Alam Stadium is just behind this particular facility. In fact, there it is to our left-hand side. You'll make it out at various points on the circuit. And this is right in the hub of Sports Central here. There's a karting circuit here. There's also a racetrack. And into the pits comes Pedro de la Rosa as Delatraz gets out of the way. Does he? Or nearly got out of the way of Brendan Hartley. But Hartley very much impeded as a result of that. So De La Rosa comes into the pits. Let's watch the pit stop. And a relatively short second stint as well. They want track positions. So clearly they're going to go heavy in the third stint as De La Rosa drops out of the top 6 in the pit stop phase. So a fascinating scenario. But Alguersuari leads the way now from Van Dorn and Dixon. Then Hartley, Glock, Bourdais, Sato and De La Rosa, who rejoins in 8th. So because they've not been able to pull away much, they're obviously going to be still right in the midst of other cars. As de Grassi, having made his pit stop, has rejoined in 13th. And De La Rosa is rejoined in 8th. So Van Dorn now in 2nd place in the Simtek, trying to make up some of the ground lost initially. And there goes the Manor of Brendan Hartley and the Super Aguri of Timo Glock past Jean-Denis Delatraz in the 40. Delatraz not giving them too much of a headache. They just want to finish races now, the 40s. Baffling why Dave Goddard keeps them on board. I could have sworn that he had a couple of other fast whippersnapper drivers in the car. They could have gone a lot faster and certainly further up the road as Alguersuari, the race leader, pits in. So Alguersuari from the lead. So one after the other, the Prosts pit in. The Simtex will go a bit further. Now they're going to try and undercut the Prosts. And interestingly, Alguersuari is going to go a little bit further into the race. Even then De La Rosa. But he had to wait for Bourdais. That's a big problem for Alguersuari as Hartley comes into the pits as well. But that's devastating bad luck for Alguersuari. He had to wait. So this is going to be a fascinating situation. Now De La Rosa might be going for a long third stint, although Tom Butterworth says maybe he's on a 3-stop strategy. That is possible. I've not known it so much on Grand Prix 2, but here is a possibility. And De La Rosa pushing hard on his outlap, trying to move his way further forward. So let's see if De La Rosa is going to be able to retake the lead from Van Dorn and Dixon, but Alguersuari's lost big time. He's lost a good 2 or 3 seconds just waiting for Sebastian Bourdais as De La Rosa is now 5th and Jaime Alguersuari is in 6th place. Is Van Dorn pitting? The question is he going to pit in early? Well, Timo Glock is now... Yes, Van Dorn is in the pit. Van Dorn is in the pits. So the Simtek comes in just a lap after the Prosts. Now, I'm not sure that's going to be enough to beat out De La Rosa, but he might jump Alguersuari because Alguersuari got held up. A reasonably long stint for the Simtek. So that should put Van Dorn out behind. Oh, Sato's in the pits as well in the Onyx. Now, where is Van Dorn going to rejoin in relation to Alguersuari? There goes Alguersuari. He's just beaten him out. Nothing in it at all between the two of them. And Alguersuari has literally just got out in front of out in front of Van Dorn. So the Simtex tried to jump the Prosts, and even with a slight hesitation to wait for Bourdais, it was not enough to hand them the position. So, a tough race going on between Prost and Simtek here. The two teams have not had a massive amount of luck over the course of the season. Both of them have had podiums. Neither team has had a win yet. Timo Glock in second place and Pedro De La Rosa in third. Tried to make his move up through the field if he can. And is this going to be a strong battle? Let's have a look again. As this is the battle between Brendan Hartley and in front of us, Jean-Eric Vergne and Kamui Kobayashi. Now De La Rosa lapping the 40 again of De La Rosa. Now Kobayashi's going quite a long way into this race, so he might decide to go for either a very median two-stopper or a very aggressive one-stopper. But Degrassi's going to have another go at Kobayashi here. And I think Kobayashi's a bit of a sitting target here with a heavy fuel load on the arrows. Indeed, through goes Lucas Degrassi into 8th place, with Kobayashi slipping back to 9th. And Jean-Eric Vergne, yet again consistent in the points now, is back into 6th place. But surely Vergne needs to make a pit stop as well. And Gabriele Tarquini continues his charge through the field. He's now up in front of Sato and Davidson. Lotterer back to 14th. Jenny is in 15th place now. Then Courtney, DeResta, Inui, Frines and Rossi. Delatraz is a lap down. And then we have Ericsson, Hulkenberg, Wolf, Verline and Diniz out of the race, as Vergne is trying to shake off Brendan Hartley. So Jean-Eric Vergne trying to keep Brendan Hartley at bay at the moment, as the BAR, the sole remaining BAR, tries to get into position. And Timo Glock is in the pits from second. Let's have a look and see how this pit stop goes for Super Aguri. So they've gone a bit further into the race. But Timo Glock, right, he's going to go to about lap 40 with that. And about lap 40, we'll see him on a two-stop strategy, I would think. Although there could be some three stops, because obviously it's very nearly an 80-lap race, although they might just try and go aggressive on the final stint. And Degrassi going to get up the inside of Vergne. And Degrassi gets up. Oh, contact between Hartley and Glock. And Glock gets back on right in front of Jean-Eric Vergne. What on earth happened there? Let's have another look at it as Glock gets back on the circuit. I want to watch that, because Glock came out on track. And where did he rejoin? Well, Glock rejoined right into the path of the manor. Now that is not very good for Timo Glock. So Glock rejoined bang on in front of the manor. And now Kobayashi's going to get his run on Vergne as a result. And Vergne goes right off the circuit and drops about 3 places. So Jean-Eric Vergne impeded as a result of all of that. What a thriller. That pit stop exit definitely not helping out either Jean-Eric Vergne or the Manor team in that particular situation, as into the pits comes the race leader, Scott Dixon. Now, Dixon has been putting on a bit of a spurt of speed, but I don't think he's going to get out in the top 3. He'll rejoin where he pitted in 4th place. He hasn't pulled out enough of a gap to be comfortable over the Prosts or his teammate Van Dorn. And he's going to go to about lap 44, about lap 43 maybe. So Dixon is in, and he'll get out in 4th position, I'm sure. Van Dorn will sweep past the pits. Now, can he beat Hartley out? He should do, because the Simtek pit is right at the end of the pit lane. So let's double check. But yes, indeed, Dixon rejoins in 4th position. A few seconds back from Van Dorn. It hasn't worked, the undercut strategy, as Kobayashi now battling with Bourdais, and Bourdais is through. So Bourdais gets past the arrows. Fascinating dueling at the moment, as Sebastian Bourdais runs in 8th place ahead of Kobayashi and Gabriele Tarquini. Here's Pedro De La Rosa, the race leader in the Prost. 5.8 seconds now in front of Jaime Alguersuari. A very tough battle at the top 10. And it's unusual to see the BARs and the arrows really struggling, but Vergne is down in 11th, Kobayashi is down in 9th, and their sister cars are out of the race. Very unusual to see this. But Shah Alam has not been kind to them. De La Rosa, Alguersuari, Van Dorn, Dixon and Hartley, then Degrassi, Glock and Bourdais. From Kobayashi, Tarquini, Vergne, Sato, Davidson, Jenny and Courtney. And Stoffel Van Dorn runs in 3rd position now. Bourdais is 8th. And Kobayashi in 9th place from Tarquini. Vern, Sato, Davidson, Jenny and Courtney. And then it is Di Resta from Frines, Inui, Rossi and Lotterer, with Delatraz in 21st place. Now Vern comes into the pits. Vern is in the pits. And this is an important stop. Now he's gone short on the fuel. He went heavy initially, but he's gone short the second time. Now that should line him up with the other drivers in the mix with him. But there are cars out there that have obviously gone very heavy into the race. So Vern should rejoin in about 16th, 17th place. And that's Tarquini out. Oh, a puncture. Tarquini was doing so well. He was in the top 10 on merit. And Tarquini, I'm afraid to say, with a puncture, the BMS Italia is now out of the race. That's devastating bad luck for team manager Adam Weller, as Tarquini was looking very good indeed in this one. But it's not going to finish on a high for him. That's a big shame. Well, here is Robin Frines in his first outing for Super Aguri. And he's going to have a pretty nifty race run after this one, I'm sure. But a second place in the original practice definitely gave him a good opportunity to move forward. But Robin Frines was not able to maximise it after his melee at the start. Stoffel Van Dorn in 3rd position. Dixon in 4th place behind him, his teammate. But it's Prost 1 and 2, Simtek 3 and 4, Manor 5 and 6. It's never really been as uniform as this before. But Timo Glock in the Super Aguri is ahead of Bourdais in the Onyx. Their package has definitely improved since the power upgrade as Marc Genet comes into the pits in the Minardi. But Bourdais is 8th, Sato is 10th, although he did get pole position, don't forget, by a fraction of a second. And then ended up, unfortunately, getting a bad start, which triggered all sorts of chaos behind. Now Glock making his move on the inside of Degrassi, unable to get there. So the Super Aguri has to hang back as Lucas Degrassi again battles with the German. Timo Glock, who's had a couple of wins so far this season. But the Super Aguri want another one, and as they come off one of the fastest sections of the course, here comes Glock making his bid up the inside and through. Lovely overtaking move there from Timo Glock. No hesitation at all, and the Super Aguri is up into 6th position now, past Degrassi. And here is Della Rosa, your race leader in the Prost. So many times he has had a chance to win. He's on that 26 of 79. So we're approaching 1/3 distance of this race. Not quite there yet, but it's definitely going to be a fairy tale victory if Prost can get one in the bag. Van Dorn and Dixon at Simtek have yet to get one in there as well. Hartley in 5th, Glock in 6th from Degrassi and Bourdais, Sato and Kobayashi, then Davidson, Courtney, Di Resta, Frines and Vern. And then in 16th is Inui from Rossi, Jenny, Lotterer and Delatraz. So an absolutely fascinating run so far. But the Malaysian Grand Prix has definitely given us lots of entertainment here at Shah Alam. A circuit that is quite short, but tight, twisty and fast. Della Rosa out in the lead at the moment from Jaime Alguersuari. Here he is. Jaime Alguersuari out of the car for quite a while, but certainly back up to speed again. And Anthony Davidson in 11th place is now charging his way back towards the points if he can get there. It's going to be a long race for Anthony Davidson. Minardi are on a different strategy to everybody else as they try to get themselves back into the points. Their focus has all been on reliability rather than horsepower, similar to the Arrows team in fact. But even the upgrades don't necessarily guarantee the cars are going to be bulletproof, as we know in the Grand Prix World Series. It's always very tough. But Arrows can console themselves with the fact that they are 2nd in the team standings at this present moment in time, with a couple of victories in their pocket. Likewise BAR, although it looks like neither team is going to add to their tally this afternoon. We could get a completely different winner. The top four drivers are in cars that have not yet won a race this season. So it will definitely shake things up a little bit as Della Rosa leads Alguersuari. Van Dorn is 3rd from Dixon, his teammate. Then Hartley in 5th place from Timo Glock, Lucas Degrassi, Sebastian Bourdais, and Takuma Sato's back into 9th place now on Kamui Kobayashi. That's the AGS getting out of the way of Andre Lotterer. Where is their pace? The AGS just doesn't seem to have any performance at all here at Shah Alam. And they were winners at Marrakesh, let's not forget, at the very first part of the season. So Della Rosa stuck behind the Minardi. as he tries to come through on the inside line. Mark Genet is not making life easy for his countryman. Mark Genet, of course, won at Taupo in New Zealand, and now he's being lapped by the Prost. Round the outside, De La Rosa doesn't make it too difficult, and he is through. So Alguersuari in second, Van Dorn, Dixon, Hartley and Glock, then De Grassi, Bourdais, Sato and Kobayashi. An absolutely thrilling performance at the moment from this man up front. And Delatraz in the 40, what's he up to? Just ticking over nicely. The 40 is going good guns and having a really great race of it, as he runs there in 20th position. But as far as they're concerned, finishes will do. Of course, a few races ago, they were struggling even to do that. Mechanical problems were really setting in, but now the package looks much more competitive. And they even had the celebrity driver Photo Chan taking a second place finish at the Birmingham Super Prix Celebrity Race a few weeks ago. De Resta now making his defensive bid on Robin Freins, but Freins is charging his way back and he's got into 13th place. So Robin Freins is on the comeback drive, having had an initial setback at the start. He's now making his way back up the order. So expect Robin Freins and Takuma Sato to still be a factor in this race. They have made a terrific comeback. They're now only a couple of places outside the points in Freins' case and back in the points in Sato's case. So there is still time to go. And there's still plenty of racing on the horizon, as we are now just past 1/3 distance. And there is Pedro De La Rosa. Jaime Alguersuari in second place. Third and fourth are the Simtex, and either of these two teams could use a victory at this point in the proceedings. They are actually 7th and 8th in the team standings, so their performance package is definitely improved in terms of speed. They are the two fastest cars out there, but unfortunately, they have not had the reliability up to this point to see it through to the race's conclusion. Meanwhile, the 40 gets out of the way of James Courtney. That is Courtney in 12th position, moving well clear of Jean-Denis Delatraz in the 40. Remco van England, our superfan, has joined us once again. Hello, Remco. He says the gap between De La Rosa and Alguersuari is growing. It is indeed. It's up to about 7 seconds now. So it certainly looks to me as though Alguersuari is not going to be able to hang on to the leader for much longer the way things are currently faring. But an absolutely terrific run so far from Pedro De La Rosa. We've said that a few times this year. And there are 4 races to go in the season. And Fuji in Japan is next. As up the inside comes Verne to De Resta. Neither driver wanting to give way there, and they ended up nearly tripping over each other. So through comes the hairpin. Through the hairpin comes the manner of Brendan Hartley in 5th position. A terrific drive so far. Ryan Ferris writes, who would have thought that Mark Genet was leading the championship at one point? Indeed he was, but Minardi really struggled for development in the early part of the season, as BAR and Arrows appear to be now in this later part of the season. So it's definitely creating a very interesting championship battle. We are, of course, learning by doing on the job in this first Grand Prix World Series. The second season will nip some of these teething troubles in the bud. But De La Rosa in front of Alguersuari to the tune of 7.2 seconds now from Van Dorn, Dixon, Hartley and Glock. And then De Grassi and Bourdais from Sato and Kobayashi in the top 10. Then it's Davidson. James Courtney is 12th, ahead of Robin Freins, who is ahead of Jean-Eric Verne, the championship leader. And Paul Di Resta in 15th place. Then it is Taki Inui from Alex Rossi, Mark Genet, Andre Lotterer, and Jean-Denis Delatraz. And the deputy team principal at AGS, Andrew Sampson, has been on the blower. He says, don't worry, Jake. AGS have a cunning plan for this race. It's so cunning you could put a tail in it and call it a weasel. How very Blackadder of you. Through the S's comes Jean-Eric Verne. Yet another frustrating race for the BAR team. They've had 3 wins so far this year. They are leading the team standings, but adding to their tally looks almost out of reach here in Malaysia. So it's going to be quite a tough job for all of the teams out there. Obviously, the next race is going to be taking place on Saturday, and that is in Japan on the very glorious Fuji circuit. So Tom Butterworth has given us an update. Jean-Eric Verne's lack of pace in the first stint, he tells us, has actually been found of a cracked wheel There is a cracked wheel after the first lap contact. Now, that is fair because he did go off the circuit in the first couple of corners at turn 1. There were 5 or 6 cars off the road at that point, and Vern was one of them. So he's lapping at about the same pace as Della Rosa at the moment. So they had a bit of an issue to start with, but Vern is now running at about the same sort of pace as Pedro Della Rosa. So he's lost about a minute all in all. Track position hasn't exactly helped, and he was on a heavier fuel strategy anyway, but Vern could easily have been up in the top 5 by this point. You could say that about several cars. Kobayashi, Sato, even Glock could be higher up the order. Freins could too. Di Resta was right up at the sharp end of the field. But about 6 cars all swept off at the first corner. Ran wide as a result of the slow start of Sato. Freins nudged him, broke the front wheel, broke the front wing, and as a result of the damage, he was slow into the first corner, and a lot of cars had to take avoiding action. That's how I read the situation anyway. That's how I kind of saw it. The tail end of it, anyway. Was so busy going through the starting grid VTR. Unfortunately, there was a glitch in the system and the race started without us. But Van Dorn, 3rd position. Dixon in 4th place. Hartley in P5. Glock in 6th place. Degrassi, Bourdais, Sato and Kobayashi. And then Freins, Courtney, Vern, Di Resta and Davidson to round out the rest of the field. It is Taki Inui, and then the cars being lapped. The 2 AGSs of Rossi and Gene. Lotterer in 19th and Delatraz is 20th. Here comes Bourdais, trying to make his bid for 7th place. Oh, and Glock's in trouble. Glock's in trouble. Gearbox failure. So the Super Aguri is out of the race, I'm afraid. So Timo Glock brings the Super Aguri to a spluttering halt. They were not destined to add to their winning tally. So Super Aguri, I'm afraid, are out. And that is really bad news for the team. So it's now just up to the new boy, Robin Freins, to get a decent point or 2 in the bag. But Robin Freins now, ironically, does move into the points as a result of his teammate's retirement. There is Freins. The yellow flag's out because his teammate's retired. And into the pits comes Kobayashi. Now, this is an important stop. What will they do? They're going for a one-stopper. That is fascinating. The Arrows clearly feel that with Kobayashi being as smooth as he is and consistent as a driver, they're going to go for a one-stop strategy. Well, that is fascinating. So Kobayashi, they clearly feel, the Arrows team, that this is the right way to go. And to be fair, he's going to rejoin in 12th. So he's still right in the hunt for points. The start didn't really do them any favours, so they may as well take the gamble. And they decided to go for a one-stopper. Taki Inui in the pits in 15th. So keep an eye on Kobayashi in this race. He's going to charge his way back through the field. We know how good he is on one set of tyres. He's made that work a couple of times through the year. Remember how brilliantly he took the victory earlier on in the season at the season opener at Kyalami. He was very smooth all the way through. He wasn't the fastest driver on track at any point really in the race, but he was consistent. And that's how Kobayashi has been able to get himself into second in the Drivers' Championship. Davidson trying to make his way past him though on his outlap. And so Davidson in the Minardi gets through and passes Kobayashi in the Arrows. I wondered if there was a problem, but no, it is just the heavy fuel load. And Robin Freins is now in 9th place, just behind Sato. So those two are definitely running away. Emma Butterworth, fighting fit. She says, bring it on with a one-stop. And they're in 13th, but there's still time. And we know that this championship has a high attrition rate. So you never know what's going to happen. Jean-Eric Verne is 1 place outside the points. Kobayashi is 3 places outside the points, but there's a long way to go. And Della Rosa pits. Della Rosa pits. Right, we're in the aggressive second phase of pit stops now. And, oh, they are going to go 3-stop. Prost are doing a 3-stop strategy then. Well, that is fascinating. They've decided, Prost, that this is the fastest way to do it. 3 stops is the way. Certainly for Della Rosa, that is their option. And Brendan Hartley pits in now, so what are they going to do? Are they going 3-stop? No, they're doing a 2-stop strategy. Well, Prost have decided that lighter is faster, so Hartley is going to go on to the end on a 2-stop strategy. Fascinating to see the different concepts and the different ideas. And actually, with Hartley being in the pits for a long time, Kobayashi could be on the trail to catch him later on in the race. Here's Van Dorn lapping Marc Genet in the Minardi. Now, what about Jaime Alguersuari? Because I'm sure that Alguersuari will not be fueled much longer than his teammate. Will he be coming into the pits? Well, certainly not straight away. Now, Alguersuari went a bit further into the race on fuel strategy. So this is absolutely fascinating. And Tom Butterworth is right. He called De La Rosa's strategy. He said, well, I think he's doing 3 stops because he's going very short on fuel. Alguersuari has gone a bit longer. So is he going on to a 2-stop strategy? And are the Simtex around him going to do likewise? That is the key question. So this is going to be a fascinating battle of wits as Van Dorn runs in second in front of teammate Dixon. De La Rosa is a few seconds down the road from them, but he's going to do one more pit stop. So he needs to push, and push like hell, if he wants to win this race, Pedro De La Rosa. But Prost have gone aggressive. They seem to think it's possible. And they've got insurance and a bit of a backup plan in regards to Alguersuari. Meanwhile, AGS are causing a headache for Simtek. Alexander Rossi needs to get out of the way of the 2 Simtex of Van Dorn and Dixon. Now, are they going to be able to move aside for Van Dorn? There goes Van Dorn. There goes Dixon. So the 2 Simtex both get by. They've lost about a second stuck behind the AGS as they go past the Shah Alam Stadium to the left. But Van Dorn and Dixon are now nose to tail. Now, this is actually quite beneficial to them. They can help each other at this stage. They can look after the cars. And certainly Dixon has got a bit of an upper hand now on his teammate Van Dorn because he's got him on the run. But the Simtex need to be careful here. They're working in tandem, but they're going to go further into the race than De La Rosa. And De La Rosa is catching them. But De La Rosa needs to catch them because he's got another pit stop to come. And De La Rosa, look, he sets the fastest lap of the race at 1 minute 11.3. That's not a massive surprise because De La Rosa needs to make this 3-stop strategy work. And to do it, he's got to go at a lightning pace. So Alguersuari leads the race. The Simtex are 4 seconds back. Van Dorn and Dixon nose to tail in second and third. Alguersuari is the insurance policy. De La Rosa is gunning for victory on a 3-stop strategy. But if it doesn't work, then De La Rosa should get a net best of 4th position. And Alguersuari should still be left in the lead. Here comes Dixon. Dixon's been given leave to go for Van Dorn. And the teammates are side by side. Dixon gets through. Now, I wonder if that's a strategy decision. Dixon opting to get past Van Dorn. Now, if Dixon is slightly quicker than Van Dorn, that's definitely going to help the Simtek team have a better chance of victory. Because Dixon can now start to pull away from Van Dorn. And we'll see what happens. But it's never easy to predict how these things are going to go. There is Jean-Denis Delatraz in the 40. And the Shannon Group's car struggling to keep tabs. Alguersuari looks like he's going to lap him for a second time. We are watching Delatraz a lot. Clearly the Malaysian TV director is very fond of Delatraz and the 40 car. So they continue their run through the S's. But Jaime Alguersuari is the leader. De La Rosa is now just 11.8 seconds back. So he is lapping pretty quickly. An absolutely terrific scenario for the competitors at the moment. Here's Jaime Alguersuari. I'm going to go on the HUD onto the helmet cam to see if we can pick up any more nuggets of information. So he's about 0.6 of a second away from the pace at the moment of the fastest lap he has done. And Scott Dixon. Oh, these two are battling side by side now as Courtney and Vern come in together. But Dixon and Van Dorn are dueling over second place. They need to stop racing each other. And they need to focus on the car up front. Jaime Alguersuari. Now, Marc Genet is, well, he's pretty powerless. He lets De La Rosa fly through. Now, Di Resta is 12th and in the pit. Courtney going out of the pit. So too Jean-Eric Vern. So Vern is 12th now. Courtney 13th. And Van Dorn again battling. Now, this is going to be interesting. Vern in between the 2 Simtex. Jean-Eric Vern gets up between the 2 Simtex. Dixon still second. Van Dorn in third. And that splits them up a bit. Well, I don't think Van Dorn's going to be too happy with Jean-Eric Vern. But Vern pulls out right in between the Simtex. That was a proper Joe Tanto move there. Ironic considering Joe Tanto has actually been in this category in the celebrity race earlier in the year at Birmingham. But what an absolutely terrific run from our race leader, Jaime Alguersuari. Now, Frines pits from 9th place. Robin Friends comes in from 9th. Let's see if we can pick up the stop. Here we go. Into the pits comes Robin Friends. Now a factor in this race, and he's going to the end. So just a 2-stopper for Robin Friends in the Super Aguri, the sole remaining Super Aguri. And as team boss Tova Smith recalls that earlier battle, the great Simtek scrap of Shah Alam. It does sound like a movie starring Brendan Fraser, doesn't it? Jaime Alguersuari leads. Dixon second. Van Dorn is third from De La Rosa, De Grassi, Bourdais, Sato, Hartley, Davidson. James Courtney gets out of the way. Kobayashi is back into the points in 10th place, so the decision they made to go for a one-stop strategy seems to be vindicated for Arrows, because they've now got ahead of Friends, ahead of Vern, ahead of Courtney, and they're all going to the end of the race. So in fact, the smart pit work of Emma Butterworth has put Arrows in front of BAR pretty much permanently now. That was a tough call to make, but Arrows definitely got that one right. They're in 10th position, and as long as Kamui Kobayashi can hang on to the tyres, they're in for a decent points haul, especially if cars in front of them drop out. So, lap 41 of 79, and Stoffel Van Dorn is in 3rd place behind teammate Scott Dixon, with De La Rosa bearing down on them both. But De La Rosa is in a Mission Impossible scenario right now. He is trying to win, despite a very aggressive 3-stop strategy. Alguersuari's on a 2-stopper, as are the Simtex, we think. So this is going to be a fairly straightforward race for them, but the only way it's going to happen is if the Prost of Alguersuari and the Simtex of Simtek are too slow for an aggressive run from De La Rosa, and he pulls out enough of a gap to beat them out of the pits. But that's a brave bet. De La Rosa has actually lost time sat in the traffic now, as Dixon dives at the inside of the 40, and that's to keep his track position without losing ground to Van Dorn, his teammate. Scott Dixon's been a real revelation since he joined the championship. Took over from Marcus Ericsson in at Simtek at the Po Grand Prix and was second in his debut. He's not had a lot of decent luck since then, but he managed to bag it in 5th position last time out, despite spinning off on the first few laps and dropping to the back of the field, so he has the ability to charge back. Davidson is running well in 9th place in the Minardi. I wonder if he's got another stop to come, because if not, then he has been one of the strategy masters here. Tom Butterworth is a little bit worried now. Championship leader could get lapped twice by the end of the race. He's been lapped at half distance. And that is a very valid point. As Alguersuari pits. Right, here we go. This is where the race really starts. Alguersuari in the pit. And he's going to the end. No surprise there. So this is a 2-stop race for Jaime Alguersuari. He'll not be in the pits again unless there's a problem. So 10.1 seconds. That's about right for the pit stop. He'll rejoin in 4th. Or is De Grassi going to get him? No, De Grassi's too far back. Battling with Bourdais and Sato, who are fighting back into the race. So Scott Dixon takes over the lead then. And he becomes the 4th different race leader. Because we've had De La Rosa lead, we've had Van Dorn lead it, we've had Alguersuari lead it, and now Scott Dixon. So let's see if the Simtek team can get a car on the podium. They might get 2, the way things are currently going. De Grassi is 5th, Bourdais is 6th, Sato is 7th from Hartley, Davidson, Kobayashi, and then Robin Friends is 11th, 1 place out of the points on his debut. In comes De Resta. De Resta trying to make a move. Lola have been absolutely nowhere in this race, I have to say. Considering their strong performance in qualifying, De Resta always manages to get himself into the top 10. He's great in 1 lap, but then he just fades away in races. It's a real surprise that De Resta's really struggling. It looks as though we've got Deegan Fairclough watching along. Driver for the Downforce Racing sim racing team in the GPVWC. They are racing tonight at Baku in Azerbaijan, I do believe. So that will be an interesting race to watch. You can watch it on the GPVWC YouTube channel. And Scott Dixon leads the way from Van Dorn. De La Rosa is in 3rd place. Then Jaime Alguersuari and Lucas De Grassi. Sebastian Bourdais is 6th from Takuma Sato. And then it is Brendan Hartley, Anthony Davidson, and Kamui Kobayashi in 10th in the Downforce Grand Prix World Series, the Management League. There's no sim racing here other than managing the teams and the cars and the drivers. This is a Management League, and it is affectionately known now within the team as the Minecraft of motorsport. as the battle continues on. Now, this is a quite interesting squabble. Bourdais in front of Sato, the new boy, who put it on pole position for his first race, but had that sluggish start. Deacon Fairclough telling me that they're actually racing at Zandvoort. I do apologise. I thought it was Baku, but it's not. It's Zandvoort. And here's De La Rosa into the pits. Now, that is because the first Simtek pitted, and it's Van Dorn first. So Van Dorn pits in first, and De La Rosa was very lucky not to take him off the circuit in that pit stop entry. So Van Dorn into the pits. Now, where he gets out is going to be quite important because Di Grassi, Bourdais and Sato are coming up the road. And if they go slightly longer into the race, then he's actually going to get out. Now, Sato comes into the pits, so he won't be Bourdais out, but Van Dorn being in the pits. Di Grassi's gone through, Bourdais gone through, so Van Dorn is going to rejoin in 6th position. He does indeed. So Van Dorn rejoins in 6th. Here's his teammate, Scott Dixon, leading the way. For those just joining, and for those who've never watched this before, it is the management-based Minecraft of Motorsport, the Retro Racing Managers League, Downforce Grand Prix World Series, based on the Jeff Crammon Classic Grand Prix 2 from 1995. This game is 25 years old, but new life is breathed in thanks to the German Grand Prix 2 modding community. And during COVID-19, we thought, time to start something new. This is a management game like nothing else. You've got Motorsport Manager on your tablets and your phones, and it is a very impressive sim, but this is different. Scott Dixon into the pits from the lead. De La Rosa, of course, takes over the lead, but he's got one more stop. So in comes Dixon. Now, he's gone quite long into this stint, so he'll have less fuel to put in this time. Let's see what happens as Alguersuari goes through. He'll take 2nd. Di Grassi will go through. He'll take 3rd for the moment. Bourdais should go through. And Van Dorn will just not quite get through. There we go. Dixon rejoins behind Bourdais. Now, what are the fuel loads like for Di Grassi and Bourdais? Because I think they've got one more stop to go. Yes, indeed. Di Grassi's got to stop. Bourdais got to stop. But Dixon is right in behind them. And Alguersuari has jumped them. Now, that's important. Alguersuari got out ahead of Di Grassi and Bourdais. Dixon and Van Dorn got out behind them. So Simtek are actually going to have a bit of a head scratcher now. They could get held up behind Bourdais and Di Grassi. Although Di Grassi is 3rd, Bourdais is 4th. Di Grassi sweeps past the 40. Bourdais is going to try and do likewise, but he's not going to catch the 40 in time. So Di Grassi is in a solid position. Now, De La Rosa leads, but he's going to go like stick. Takuma Sato, engine failure. Oh, bitter disappointment. The pole sitter was destined not to finish this race. Even if he had held on to his lead, the engine would still have failed. And that is devastating bad news for Takuma Sato. Behind the barriers goes the Onyx, and it's game over. He was doing such a good job. I think that's an inspired strategic call by team manager Ryan Ferris. As Di Grassi pits in, it was a good call to bring in Takuma Sato. He's been quick right out of the blocks. So it'll be interesting to see if he can keep up that sort of pace heading to his home race at Fuji. That's Dixon with Van Dorn now right behind him. So Dixon has got past Van Dorn, I think. So Van Dorn, has he lost the place? Or has he got a problem developing? No problems on the readout, but Dixon yet again makes the move on Van Dorn. Now, Stoffel Van Dorn's not going to be happy about the way that Dixon is running rings around him this afternoon. But Dixon, the IndyCar champion 5 times over, has performed some smart moves in this race. And here comes the move from Van Dorn as he laps Taki Inui. So Taki Inui has no choice but to get out of the way. And this Grand Prix World Series is for ex-Formula 1 teams that never won a Grand Prix. The drivers are all ex-Formula 1 drivers that never won a Grand Prix, whether they were race drivers or test drivers. The tyres can be any tyres they want, but the engines must be engines not currently in Formula 1. So they can have any engine supply they like, as long as it is not Mercedes, Ferrari, Renault or Honda. And into the pits comes Bourdais. Now that's the important pit stop as far as Simtek are concerned. Dixon is now 3rd, Van Dorn is now 4th. So Bourdais comes in the sole remaining Onyx. And they're going to try and get that car out onto the circuit in reasonably good position. Hartley's gone through. Di Grassi's next. Oh, Verne is out. Verne is out. What's happened to Jean-Eric Verne? Jean-Eric Verne is out of the race, the championship leader. He was trying to get back into the points. There he is. Engine failure. That doesn't happen often at BAR. They've got one of the more reliable packages. They are the team leaders. And Vern is out. A double retirement for BAR. When was the last time we said that? But the championship leader, Jean-Eric Vern, is out. And I have to say, the rest of the field are going to draw a wry grin because his championship lead was massive coming into this race. But it's not going to be as big now. The question is, who's going to start catching him? If it's not going to be Kobayashi, then it makes little difference in terms of the championship fight. Because if it's a big score for Prost and a big score for Simtek, then they're going to gain ground, as will Manor in 5th and 6th. But in terms of the championship fight, not a lot is going to change. So Tom Butterworth can breathe a sigh of relief to a certain extent, because the drivers running in the lead are not really going to challenge the team in terms of championship position. Certainly not at this stage of the title race, but Kobayashi could really have done with a better race than he's had. He's in 9th position, but they are still going to pick up some places from the cars in front if they continue to drop out of the race. So retirements are there on the left-hand side of your screen. We've lost Vern, Sato, Glock, Tarquini, Ericsson, Hulkenberg, Wolf, Wehrlein and Diniz. The only team that has lost 2 cars is BAR, the championship leaders. That is a surprise. So there's Marc Genet running in 14th place behind Di Resta, and here come the 2 Simtex. Now they are back together. Here comes Van Dorn in behind Dixon, and the team are double timing the entire back markers as Genet gets out of the race. Now De La Rosa's pitting early. De La Rosa's pitting very early. Now he's decided, well, the 3-stop strategy can only work if he gets into a decent track position. So he's come in quite late, quite early, I should say. So Alguersuari takes the lead. Where are Dixon and Van Dorn? They're going to come through on the home straight, are they? They've already gone through? No, not quite. De La Rosa's going to beat them out. Yes, De La Rosa's beaten them out in 2nd place. Big strategy call from Prost to bring him in early, and they've done it while the Simtex were in traffic, and it's Prost 1 and 2. Big moves there from Tom Cairns on the pit wall, and that is absolutely sensational. They are 1 and 2. De La Rosa is now about 6 seconds or so behind Alguersuari on fresher tyres. The big question now is which of them is going to be allowed to win? Will he let them race? Or will there be team orders? Fascinating scenario. Well, let's go down into the green room and have a chat with our team managers as Alguersuari leads the race. I've got to say, there's a few team managers I want to have a word with. So let's get down there and see if we can have a word with some of our team managers. Firstly, Tom Cairns. Tom, this is a stunning situation. De La Rosa deciding to go aggressive on the 3-stop strategy, but it's worked beautifully. He's only 5.5 seconds behind Alguersuari with 30 laps to go.
Well, this is going to make it for a thrilling finish to the end of the race now, but I think given that De La Rosa has been really, really strong on the stints actually and not been held up too much by the back markers, it's clearly much played into his hands really, and I was really impressed by his pace in the 2nd stint actually to close up on Dixon and Van Dorn, and it's clearly paid off for him. And now out with Alguersuari in the driving seat for the race win, it's important for us to make sure we get to the end without any reliability issues, and if we do that, it'll be the first 1-2 that any team has missed all this season. I couldn't have dreamt for a better situation like this, to be honest, Jake, given where we were on the grid and the starts that the pair of them have made. It's clearly put us in a really, really strong situation where we could get a really good haul of points that will very much close off on the likes of BAR and Arrows, who are seemingly not going to be going all the way. Having said that, Kobayashi's in 9th place, which will only close the gap between BAR and Arrows slightly, but I think that will increase our points tally, I think, from 77 to, I think, it is 121, so we're very, very close actually to BAR and Arrows in the Constructors.
Well, you alluded to it a little bit there in your comment, but I wanted to ask, are you going to put team orders now? Is De La Rosa free to race Alguersuari, or do you want them to hold station?
I think given that Alguersuari is slightly ahead of De La Rosa in the championship, I think maybe it would be better if Alguersuari had won. But having said that, I'm happy for De La Rosa to close the gap on Alguersuari. We all know how difficult, well, not difficult, but this track is easier to overtake than it is on other tracks. And I can see that De La Rosa is clearly now closing the gap on Alguersuari, which doesn't surprise me. But there's still quite a bit to go now. We've still got 28 laps until the end before the finish. We just got to make sure we stay ahead of those Simtex who have been very, very quick in the race as well. And full credit to Scott as well for putting these cars in a really, really strong state in comparison to where we are. But yeah, it's been a really strong and powerful race from both of our drivers.
Okay, well, thanks, Tom. It's good to talk to you about it, and hopefully the cars can stay up at the front end. I want to have a quick word with Topher Smith, actually, the team boss at Super Aguri. Frustration for Timo Glock out of the race, but despite the issue at the start with Robin Franz breaking the front wing and dropping to the back, how he's fought it back to 9th place, it totally vindicates your decision to hire him in the first place.
Robin's doing a very strong job at the moment. As for the incident at the start, I'm not going to comment on it until we've had a full internal investigation as to what's gone on there. See him go for it, let's see him give it a try.
Okay, well, thanks, Topher. It's been good to catch up. One more word, I think, with Ryan Ferris, team manager at the Onyx team. Unfortunate for Takuma Sato, pole position for Scott Dixon. And now there's only one Simtech giving chase to the Prosts. But that is heartbreaking for Scott Dixon. He'll be absolutely distraught with that one. And that is game over, I'm afraid, at one of the Simtechs. So I'll quickly go down to the green room again. We'll have a quick word again with Ryan Ferris at the Onyx team. I was going to say Sato didn't get the best luck at the start and had to fight back as a result of it. But again, his comeback drive, I just wanted to say, totally vindicates the decision to bring him into the team.
Well, yeah, because I feel that where he was at that point, he wasn't far behind Bourdais, and Grass felt that the way that we played the stop is he could have undercut both Bourdais and Degrassi. But it's a shame. I mean, we have had our luck in terms of having 2 races without any retirements, so we kind of saw this was going to be coming. However, we're kind of very intrigued to what happened at the start, so it would be great to hear if there's any form of investigation to see what happens, because I'm clueless to what happened.
Unfortunate situation, and I completely agree with you. It is frustrating. I suppose next time out at Fuji, you guys have got a great chance with Takuma being on home soil.
Yes, he is very much looking forward to that. Hopefully he can try and go for the pole, and maybe a win at his home would be brilliant for Takuma Sato.
Okay, well, good luck for the rest of the race, and hopefully Bourdais can bring it home in solid points. Well, not surprising, really, that we saw a couple of issues there from the team managers. Devastating for Simtech. And a very difficult scenario for Scott Dixon. Not where he wanted to end his race. And he was looking very strong and solid up until that point. His performance was very, very clean. But it's not to be from his point of view. And obviously there are some frustrations from the managers about the absence of the start of the race. I do apologise for that. The most exciting start of the entire season, and we kind of missed it on the broadcast. I do apologise. But Alguersuari now leads De La Rosa by 1.8 seconds. De La Rosa is catching his teammate. Now this could cause some friction within the team, because as Tom Cairns himself stated, with Jaime Alguersuari slightly ahead in the championship, it makes more sense for Alguersuari to get the victory now than De La Rosa. But De La Rosa has been the faster of the 2 drivers, not just today, but all season. So Alguersuari will be feeling, well, actually, I may have a win in my pocket here. De La Rosa will be thinking, well, I did all the hard work, so I should get the victory. And there could be a bit of an inter-team squabble, in which case this man, Stoffel van Dorn, is sitting quite pretty. What if the 2 cars in front were to have an issue, or one of them were to get damaged trying to avoid a squabble with the other? We could see a fascinating race, and it could certainly cause some internal arguments between the 2 Spaniards, Jaime Alguersuari and Pedro de la Rosa. Both feel that they could have won this year on a couple of occasions. Alguersuari will feel this is his best ever chance to get a race victory. De la Rosa will feel similar. They've gone further into the race in this position for quite a long time. And let's have a look at the fuel strategies, because I think there's still a couple of plans in the the offing. The Prosts are going all the way to the end, as is Van Dorn. The Manners, however... Oh, De Resta's going off. De Resta's going off. De Grassi forced him aside. The Manners are going to the end of the race, but De Resta's got an electrical problem. De Resta's got a problem. Now that's going to bring him into the pits. So an issue there for De Resta. I think pretty much everybody now is going to the end of the race. So I don't think there are any more pit stops really to take into consideration. And if that's the case, then one of the stars of the race has to be this man, Anthony Davidson, who is going to the end of the race, but he's brought the Minardi into 9th place. A really good battle from Anthony Davidson today, and not the easiest situation to be in, as De Resta comes into the pits with that electrical failure. So they're going to have to switch the car off, switch it back on again. Courtney's through to 10th, Rossi's through to 11th, Jene and Inui are through into 12th and 13th, and De Resta is going to get back out on track again, but in front of Andre Lotterer. Well, all sorts of difficulties in this race, but for Stoffel Van Dorn, he's 11.4 seconds behind the leading Prosts that are together. Here we go, Alguersuari defending from De La Rosa. This is the race battle, and this is for the victory. We thought it was going to go down like this. So now the two Prosts are racing wheel to wheel for victory. De La Rosa is not going to wait around. He's going to try and make his bid in the first corner, and he makes a solid move. De La Rosa goes through and takes the lead away from Jaime Alguersuari. The 3-stop strategy call has worked beautifully, and De La Rosa not only takes the lead, but has already started to get away from Jaime Alguersuari. Are they finally going to become the first team to get a 1-2? And if so, is it finally going to be De La Rosa's day? Well, Jaime Alguersuari is going to be bitterly disappointed, as here comes Robin Freins, about to lose the place to Anthony Davidson. Davidson's on a roll, and he gets through. Davidson into 8th place past Freins. Oh, Kamui Kobayashi makes a big mistake in the right-hander, but he gets the car together, and still some points in the offing for Arrows here. He's a very dependable pair of hands, is Kamui Kobayashi. He may not always be able to win, but he's always able to get the car into a competitive position, even when the chips are down. And he lost a dozen places at the start, but he's still been able to drag that car home when BAR have not. I say home, but there is still 22 laps to go. So obviously this latter stage of the race is going to be an interesting one. And I wonder what the managers will feel about the Shah Alam circuit. There are internal discussions after each race about which circuits work and which don't. There's already been a unanimous call, I think, that 2 circuits from this year's calendar will disappear. One of them being Helsinki in Finland, and the other one, rather sadly, is Bathurst in Australia. I think they wanted a much better race than they actually got from Bathurst. It works great for touring cars, but not so much for single-seaters. Bourdais slowing! A loose wheel yet again for Sebastien Bourdais. He's had a couple of problems like this over the season. Oh dear, he's caught the curb rather badly there. And pulling off the circuit, he goes airborne. But it's game over for Bourdais. No points for the Onyx team today. And that is rather harsh news from their point of view. But for Kobayashi, he's up to 6th. Davidson's up to 7th. Freins is up to 8th. Courtney's up to 9th. And Alex Rossi has brought AGS back into the points in 10th place. While Andre Lotterer doesn't seem to be in the zone today. Ah, now this is interesting. The Prosts have closed back up again. Alguersuari has caught right back up to De La Rosa. Now, De La Rosa is going to want to take the AGS pretty quickly. Alguersuari is still in the groove, though. Alguersuari has not let De La Rosa get too far ahead. So he still clearly feels that if he chases in behind his teammate, he's still got an opportunity to go for the victory. So it's not done yet between the two Prosts. I thought that was going to be it and game over, but Alguersuari is making a bit of a race of it as Degrassi runs behind his teammate Brendan Hartley. Managers taking it smoothly, 4th and 5th. And that, by my calculations, would actually put them, if not ahead of Arrows, level with Arrows in the team standings. So that is a very exciting time for Mana. And of course, Kamui Kobayashi, half a minute behind them, is trying to make up for lost ground. But if any of the top 5 score points, if any of the top 5, fail to score points now, then Kobayashi is right in there in P5. But you have to say, considering the disaster at the start, the Arrows team really have made the best of a bad job for Kamui Kobayashi in 6th place. Davidson, though, is one of the stars of the race in 7th place. Robin Freins has driven well to come back in 8th. Courtney is 9th. Rossi is in 10th place. Then Inui, Jenny, De Resta and Lotterer. All the rest are out. Bourdais. Oh, sorry. Delatraz is still going. Oh, Jenny! Engine failure. That is why Marc Genet's been off the pace. The engine has obviously been ticking over as best as possible. He's had some issues with it, but now Marc Genet brings the Minardi to a spluttering halt. I did wonder why he was so far off the pace compared to Anthony Davidson, and now we know why. A flailing engine, and now it's gone. Well, that's one Minardi out of the race, and that is devastating bad luck for the team. But I have to say, another star driver, another star performer in the race today is Taki Inui. The Japanese driver in the 40 has found some pace around Shah Alam and is actually running in front of De Resta and Lotterer. And that's on merit. I'm not sure what's been happening with Andre Lotterer. He seems to be well off the boil here at Shah Alam, but then he has had a couple of problems in the race. But certainly, it's been a very entertaining run. De La Rosa is now getting back on the power as he tries to get away from Jaime Alguersuari, his teammate. Less than a second between the two cars. There's Van Dorn running comfortably in 3rd position, as the Manor team are there behind in 4th and 5th. And Van Dorn can have to take solace from 3rd position. He's going to get a podium if he can stay on to it. We're on lap 62 of 79 now, so 18 laps to go. And so far, it's actually been a very tough race, but I wonder what the manager's opinions will be on Shah Alam. They've obviously got Fuji next, and they were all looking forward to that because of the long straight that Fuji affords them. Here is Jaime Alguersuari trying to stay with his teammate De La Rosa. The gap has just increased to over a second. Taki Inui is now 1 place away from the points, I've noticed. There are 14 cars running. And the retirements are Marc Genet, and then Bourdais, Dixon, Verne, championship leader, Sato, the new boy, Timo Glock, Gabriele Tarquini, Ericsson, Hulkenberg, Wolf, Wehrlein and Diniz. And here is the race leader, Pedro De La Rosa in the Prost, along with Jaime Alguersuari a second back. The Prosts have made this race very much their own, and I think De La Rosa's actually just, having got into the lead, he's not pushing the car any harder than he needs to. That's why he's not dropped Alguersuari like a stone. He's just ticking over nicely in 1st position, having got through and established that he's the faster driver. He doesn't actually need to dominate. He doesn't need to push too far away. He's just taking things nicely in his stride and trying to keep himself together. So he doesn't need to be panicking about his situation. He doesn't need to be worrying about how far into the race he can go now. He just needs to keep it together. But that aggressive 3-stop strategy definitely seems to have worked out as Robin Freins continues on there in 8th position, looking like he's going to score points on his debut for Super Aguri as De La Rosa laps the 40. And this has been a solid effort. This has been the fairy tale race that Prost have been waiting for. If they can hold this result, then they will finally be rewarded. And this is going to be one of those results that will probably encourage every team manager to applaud, because Prost have come so close so many times. They were on it at Pau and it was robbed from them. They were on it at Birmingham and it was robbed from them. They didn't quite get the strategy together right last time out at India, but they had a car that could win. And now, finally, it looks as though they're going to get their moment. Meanwhile, Anthony Davidson, fighting for his drive at Minardi, is chasing after Kamui Kobayashi. He wants a piece of the Japanese driver, who is 2nd in the driver standings. He wants to go for him. So this could be an entertaining battle. A very exciting run. De La Rosa, Alguersuari, Van Dorn, Hartley, De Grassi in the top 5. Then it's Kobayashi, Davidson, Freins. Oh, Alguersuari! The engine's gone! Alguersuari's engine. It's an oil leak. My apologies. Alguersuari in 2nd place. It's over. Lap 64 and the dream for Alguersuari is over. Well, he was obviously fated. He was never going to win this race. But if he'd have stayed in the lead, it would have been even crueler. Absolutely disastrous situation for Prost and for Jaime Alguersuari. But he is out from 2nd place. That elevates Van Dorn to 2nd, Hartley to 3rd, De Grassi to 4th, and Kobayashi to 5th. He's taking big chunks now out of Jean-Eric Verne's championship lead. Well, Just call me Jake the Jinxer, says Emma Butterworth. I do apologise to the Prost team, but there will not be a 1-2 victory for Prost. But can De La Rosa hang on for the win? That is the big concern. They've come so close, so many times, but maybe this is the moment. Van Dorn is second, Hartley is third, Degrassi is fourth, Kobayashi is fifth now from Davidson, Frines, Courtney, Rossi, and if he stays there, Taki Inui in the points, but not by virtue of finishing dead last. De Resta, Lotterer and Delatraz are all behind him, so that's a heroic drive from Taki Inui if he can stay in the top 10. We're on lap 65 of 79. It's a long race on a short, fast circuit. But we are only about an hour and 20 minutes into it, so it's not the longest race of the season by any measure, but it definitely feels very long considering how many laps have been completed, but they are very short laps of about 70 seconds, about the same length of circuit as the Red Bull Ring. So De La Rosa leads the way, 13 seconds ahead of Stoffel Van Dorn in the Simtek. Third is Hartley, fourth is Degrassi. Then it's Kobayashi in fifth place in the Arrows. A minute back, but fifth place is exactly the kind of result they could have done with after their unfortunate start. Several cars off the road and on the grass at the first corner as a result of having to avoid the carnage. And that's James Courtney out of the race. James Courtney is gone at the final turn. The BMS Italia is out now. Oh my goodness, they are dropping like flies at the end of this race. Well, is this race going to end up being reminiscent of Adelaide 95? Because the cars just keep on pulling out of the race now. Courtney is gone from what was 8th position. So Alex Rossi is through into 8th position. Inui is up to 9th. That really will be 40's best ever finish. And in 10th place is De Resta in the Lola. The only other two finishers after that are Lotterer and Delatraz. Taki Inui is looking on for a very good finish here in the points. Looking for a solid run. And there is Stoffel Van Dorn in second place in the Simtek. 13 seconds behind the race leader, Pedro De La Rosa. Lap 67 of 79. And there is the Prost out in front. Now, he will have been told by the team of his teammate's retirement. So, obviously, it's a very tricky situation for De La Rosa. He's just got to nurse the car home now. He doesn't need to push. Now, Topher Smith has pointed out that if Prost had gone the distance with both cars, they would not only have got the first 1-2, but they would have been the first team to have both cars on the podium this season. Now, I hate to jinx this one, but if the other two continue, if one of these two drop out of the race, then both the Manners will be on the on the podium. And in fact, Tom Butterworth has pointed out, can you please jinx about, or no, he means talk about how well Degrassi and Hartley are doing. I could do with some luck today. Well, to be fair to Manor, they are third and fourth, half a minute off the leaders. They've done it incredibly quietly. They've not really been in the action for most of the race. But Hartley and Degrassi have elevated themselves up at the start, got themselves into a reasonable position, and now they find themselves third and fourth. And I think that is actually them up the road, is it? No, sorry, that's Van Dorn. There is Brendan Hartley. So the race director has picked them up. And Brendan Hartley, the Kiwi, is in front of his Brazilian teammate Degrassi. There's Robin Frines looking at 7th place for Super Aguri. That's solid points. 6 in total. Sam Hall's told me to shut up because obviously every time I start speaking about how good a team is doing, they kick the bucket. So I'll try and change the subject. The next round of the championship, of course, is at Fuji. And then the final 3 races of the year are going to be in the Americas. But of course, when the 15th race of the season is completed, the season will end and there will be another Grand Prix season where 13 more teams will become available. And again, it will run as a promotion and relegation system, very similar to that of the Group C Challenge. So it's going to be a fascinating new season for the Downforce Grand Prix series as it doubles in strength. And I know there's quite a lot of managers on the shortlist of the second season that want to have a play in vintage Grand Prix cars. There's also talk of a 1950 career onwards challenge. So we start from Formula One's beginning in 1950 with retro F1 cars and go very well up at the front end of the field. So there is definite interest in that concept, the idea of racing from 1950 up to the present day. So we're going to discuss that one internally at the Retro Racing Managers League in Downforce Racing HQ. And we'll let you know if that's something we decide to do. But Van Dorn is about 14.5 seconds back now from Pedro de la Rosa. Lap 69 of 79. 11 to go. Hartley is third. Degrassi is fourth. Kobayashi is fifth in the Arrows. Then Davidson in the Minardi. 7th is Frines. 8th is Rossi. 9th is Taki Yanui. And in 10th place is Paul Di Resta in the Lola. Now, interestingly, Lola and Midland did not make an update prior to this race. They had some money to, but they decided to hold back until after Fuji. So Fuji is the next round of the championship. It's on Saturday. There was a hint that potentially we might do 2 races in one day. But I think Saturday is going to be when the race at Fuji happens, unless the managers persuade me otherwise. Maybe we could do the second race this afternoon. There's no reason why we couldn't. We've obviously proven that Group C can do 2 full-length races in one day. Remco Van England says, maybe you could set a time reminder when you go live. Well, all you have to do is subscribe to the Downforce UK YouTube page and hit the notification bell. And every time they go live, we will be obviously coming straight to your inbox. And Andrew Sampson asks, will it be raining at Fuji? It's not Fuji without a thunderstorm. Well, this time of year, it's actually quite hot in Japan. You've only got to look back to early 1994 at Aida in April, and it was actually quite hot in Japan at that point of the year. So I'm not sure whether it will be Fuji in the wet or Fuji in the dry. We'll have to find out. We haven't had a wet race all year. I think for the first season, we are just keeping it nice and simple with dry races. There is a function for Grand Prix 2 that you can run wet races, but it has to be planned in advance. So a lot of internal work and research would have to go on to decide which races would be run in the wet and which races would be run in the dry. I'm fairly sure that Istanbul can be run in the wet, and that was a consideration for the group for the Season 2 calendar. So we'd have to look into that one as a possibility. We'll see how it goes, but it obviously needs a lot of assessment and a lot of research. And we've got a season currently underway in Grand Prix and another underway in Group C Challenge. So it would need a little bit of a breather and a test run of a couple of tracks and situations. Oh, Degrassi is slowing on the main straight! Gearbox failure! Gearbox failure for Degrassi! Well, that is one manner out of the race. It really does look as though there's only going to be one car from each team finishing the race today. Oh dear. So that is game over for one of the manners. Lucas Degrassi is out of the race. And the Brazilian, absolutely devastated. 4th place is gone. That promotes Kamui Kobayashi to P4. And in the title fight, that is absolutely critical. Kobayashi is going to slash the lead of Jean-Eric Verne. Wow, we're on lap 72 of 79 now. 8 to go. And Lucas Degrassi falls from grace in 4th position. Stoffel Van Dorn is 2nd. Hartley 3rd from Kobayashi. And Anthony Davidson in P5. I tell you what, Minardi are going to have a bit of a party because they've not had a decent result for quite a long time here. And they are looking like, well, they might get 5th, but they've got Robin Frines all over the back of them right now. Frines is looking at 5th place now. So Davidson versus Frines is the battle just up the road from this. Here we are. So there is Davidson, there is Frines, and there up the road is Kobayashi, look, in 4th place. So 4th, 5th and 6th are likely to be lapped by De La Rosa before the end of this race is out. But that doesn't matter one jot. Points are points. And a 4th place for Kobayashi with Verne not finishing is absolutely as good as it gets right now. The only way to make it better is if one more podium finisher dropped off and at least they could bag a podium, but I don't see that one happening so late into the race. But I said that about the manners, so we'll just keep it going as it is, shall we? But Rossi is in 7th place. Now, Di Resta has caught and passed the 40, so Di Resta is up to 8th, but Inui is still 9th as a result of that. And Lotterer is actually going to bring the AGS into 10th position. So Lotterer is definitely looking good for the points now. He's in 10th position, or at least he will be when he passes the scene of Degrassi's car. Absolutely fantastic. But De La Rosa is on lap 73. Here comes Brendan Hartley, lapping the 40 of Jean-Denis Delatraz, that is going to be in 11th place if he just keeps it going. And a double finish for 40 is definitely good news. So there we go. And Andrew Sanson is giggling away into his sandwiches. AGS's cunning plan coming to fruition. 7th and 8th. 7th and 10th, I should say. So, an absolutely fascinating performance. Well, there are some people who are talking about in the chat. They are chatting about doing the Japanese Grand Prix this evening. Why not? We could do it today. There's no reason why not. We've got time this evening. What else are you going to do on lockdown? You're going to join us for the Japanese Grand Prix. That's what you'll do. And then on Saturday, we can have the next 2 races. Because I know that there's a lot of managers on the sidelines who want to get their hands on a race-winning team. So that could be the form. And then what we could end up doing, and again, we'll talk about it, is have 1 Grand Prix race in a day and then have the classic F1 1950 career mode from the managers. Everybody's talked about this in the past, and what if you could do an amazing career mode from 1950 to the present day, and nobody's ever done it. So we are thinking we might be the first to do it. It would be great to pull it off. Della Rosa on lap 74 of 79. In through the left-hander in the final sweeper at the loop. There's the Shah Alam Stadium to the left. Glorious building, that is. Google it, because it is absolutely stunning infrastructure there, the Shah Alam Stadium here in Selangor in Malaysia. And it's a wonderful destination. Not too far away from Kuala Lumpur. But a fabulous second city in Malaysia and a wonderful tourist destination. And what a fantastic racetrack it's got too. But with 16 seconds advantage, Van Dorn is running beautifully in second place behind Della Rosa, but Della Rosa looks unlikely to be beaten today. Tom Butterworth says 1 more retirement and it's a double points finish for 40. Who would have said that at the start of the year? But I'm fairly sure 11 is the smallest number of finishes we've had over the course of an entire race. I don't think it's been less than 11, and I don't think it's been as low as 11. So the rest of the cars are all just praying that in these last 5 laps, they make it to the flag. De Resta struggling there. Wondered if he had a mechanical problem developing, but so far nothing doing. Just checking in on everybody, making sure they've all got a car underneath them that is reliable, that is functional, that is going to bring them home. And so far the answer to that question is yes. But Pedro Della Rosa leads in front of Stoffel Van Dorn and Brendan Hartley. So this could be a really exciting run. Topher Smith has pointed out that the lowest number of finishes before today's race has been 12. What if we had less than 11? What if we had only 10? Only the top 10 score points, of course, but we're already on the lowest number of finishes of a race. But I wonder how many people will be wanting to come back to Shah Alam. Obviously, we're mixing up the different venues every time we go racing over the course of a season. Group C's got a pretty impressive calendar. Adelaide is next. Remco van England, at least it's going a lot easier to plan a race than by the Ross Brawns of this world. That's why we're doing this, so we don't have to think about that. Kamui Kobayashi laps the Lola of Paul Di Resta. Or does he? Di Resta's not making it easy. And Di Resta actually causing a big headache there, as Andre Lotterer is going to get lapped by the manner of Brendan Hartley. But Paul Di Resta has been causing all sorts of difficulties under blue flags. He's not really been obeying them. So a big situation developing there for Paul Di Resta. And look, Della Rosa is now swarming in behind. Oh, that's a nudge from Robin Freins. And Freins gets nudged by Della Rosa. Della Rosa getting very impatient. I want to see that again, because Della Rosa got caught in there behind Di Resta, who's not getting out of the way. Look, Di Resta not moving aside. There could be a penalty handed to Lola here. Look, Freins has nowhere to go but into the back of the Lola, and Della Rosa nudges the back of the Super Aguri. And this is lap 76. So the closing stages of this race, and Di Resta causes a massive headache. Now, Freins has been delayed. Davidson is now all over the back of him. So there could still be a late charge. Well, this is absolutely fantastic. I've been told that there was 11 finishers actually at Marrakesh. Yeah, there was a massive amount of attrition at that one. And we are told that there is an investigation into Paul Di Resta. So Paul Di Resta in the Lola is likely to be under the gaze of the officials. So this is a very intriguing situation there. Paul Di Resta at Lola could well end up incurring the wrath of the stewards after this race, as Frines and Davidson are left to battle behind Pedro de la Rosa. And Stoffel Van Dorn has gained a few seconds as a result of all of that. He's now just 11 seconds back. Well, we're on lap 77, 3 laps to go including this one. The closing stages of this race have definitely not given Prost any reason to feel comfort, because Paul Di Resta has been tripping over him, and we've seen what happens in the late stages of some of these races. It's not a given, even if you're leading, that the race is going to go according to plan. But with 2 laps to go, Pedro de la Rosa finally laps Paul Di Resta. Meanwhile, Frines is trying to shake off Anthony Davidson, and Davidson is absolutely determined to try and break into 5th position. There is Van Dorn, 2nd place for Simtek. And that's going to be his 2nd podium finish in a row, don't forget. So this is going to be an absolutely wonderful finish for Pedro de la Rosa. He's on his penultimate lap, and surely he's done enough this time. He was leading at Po and retired. He was leading at Birmingham and retired. He was battling for the victory in Chennai and retired. Sorry, no, that was not Chennai. It was the race before that. He retired. But he got a podium last time out at Chennai. And after that 3rd place finish, he was so desperate to get in the victory spot. He's had it so close so many times. But now it looks as though he'll finally get there. And this is going to be one of those scenarios which will have every team manager applauding. Prost have come so close so many times. But it's finally going to be their turn. Here comes Pedro de la Rosa across the line to start the final lap. And surely now the Prost is going to make it home. For Alguersuari, he got the bad luck. He got the run of the draw. So the tensions that could have bubbled over between those two didn't really turn into anything in the end. But Pedro de la Rosa is finally going to get the monkey off his back. The jinx is going to be broken. He comes through the S's on this last lap. There's Brendan Hartley in 3rd place in the Manor. A podium finish is coming their way again. Another solid run from Manor, but it could have been a double points finish. And that really could have given them a bit of a kick up the back to get onto the tail of Arrows. But they will still gain ground on BAR as they score no points today. Stoffel Van Dorn in 2nd. A good solid effort from him and a smooth drive. 2nd place is well deserved. But there's one guy up the road who deserves all the plaudits. He's finally got this win that he's been praying for so long. They've had so much drama, so much bad luck over the course of the season, but now at last the victory is theirs, and the Prost Ford comes out of the final turn, and at last Pedro de la Rosa wins in the Grand Prix World Series here at Selangor in Malaysia. A wonderful result. Kobayashi's fallen down the order, I do believe. No, my apologies. There was an issue with the graphic, that's why. That was a final panic there from me, sorry. Frines is 5th. Davidson is 6th, Di Resta is 8th, but under investigation from the stewards, so Taki Inui, who finishes 9th, could get more than that. Van Dorn is 2nd for Simtek, a great result for Stoffel Van Dorn, and Brendan Hartley comes home in 3rd. A great run in the Manor, and Andre Lotterer brings the AGS into the points. That was not looking likely earlier in the race, but they do score a point. Delatraz is going to come home in 11th, a double finish for 40. And I'm fairly sure that's the first time that's happened this year. Absolutely incredible. And here comes Alex Rossi. He's going to be 7th. But the last man home is going to be Kamui Kobayashi. 8th place and 12 points in the driver's standings. That is crucial heading to Fuji. Because Kobayashi is going to get that gap down to Verne and make this a title fight again. Brilliant result. But it's victory at last for Pedro de la Rosa. Justice, vindication and glory. It's all come to Pedro de la Rosa. Stoffel Van Dorn 2nd, for Brendan Hartley in 3rd. Kamui Kobayashi gets big points for Arrows in 4th, and very timely too. 5th for Robin Frines, 6th for Anthony Davidson. Alex Rossi is 7th in the AGS. Paul Di Resta is 8th, but under investigation. Then Taki Inui is 9th in the 40, and 10th is Andre Lotterer. 11th place for Jean-Denis Delatraz, and he is the last man home. An absolutely thrilling encounter here at Shah Alam, and I'm hoping it's not the last time we go racing in Malaysia in the Downforce Grand Prix World Series. It certainly won't be in the Retro Racing Managers League. I have a feeling there could be a few different events that this will work out well for. So let's see how the managers are feeling down in pit road after an absolutely thrilling race battle. Let's have a word with a few of our team managers, starting first of all with Sam Hall, 3rd position for the Manor team. Not a bad race in the end. It could have been 2 cars across the line in the points, but 3rd place for Brendan Hartley. You must still be pretty happy with that.
Yeah, we're pretty happy with that. We kind of expected just one car to finish throughout the race, because that seems to be how things have gone for us so far this year. But yeah, so I think we might have overtaken Arrows in the Constructors' Championship as well, which is very, very nice if we have.
And obviously that means that heading to Fuji, there's even more onus on you guys to put in a great performance. Is there going to be a particular opportunity for you guys to win there, do you think?
Well, we've heard that the forecast is actually for rain in Fuji, so we think we've got a good couple of drivers for the wet conditions. So if that happens, yeah, we could get a win.
Okay, well, we'll bear down on that one, and when Fuji happens, whether it's this evening or Saturday, we'll obviously keep everybody in the loop and let you all know, and we'll go racing then. Now, Scott Woodwiss and the Simtech team finished 2nd. I'll try and come to them in a short while. Let's have a word, first of all, though, with Topher Smith of the Super Aguri team. Topher, Robin Frines, 5th position on his debut for the team. That is not bad going, considering where we started.
Putting aside what happened at the start, Robin's had an absolutely fantastic time today. Putting on the front row of the grid at his first attempt, and then putting the incident behind him to come up to 5th place, all on his debut. I think that's an absolutely great performance from Robin, and it's going to put him in strong stead for Season 2 when we decide on our drivers.
So obviously he's got a point to prove, and there could be some very interesting times when the team heads to its home race in Fuji. How do you think it's going to go there?
Jake, you know as well as I do, you can't predict anything in this championship. I'm not going to say anything right now.
Fair enough, Topher. Congratulations on a great 5th place finish under the circumstances. Let's see if we can have a word with Scott Woodwiss. 2nd place for Stoffel Van Dorn in the Simtech. It could have been a victory, but I have to say the strategy played very well, and despite how close it got between Scott and Stoffel, a solid result.
Yeah, we're happy with that. 2nd place, it's solid points. It's some good money in the bank for that, and I think Stoffel held on well. I think ultimately the Prosts have more pace on us because they might have had a bit more. Their strategy seems to work out a little better, and maybe they've got a little bit more horsepower in that Ford engine than we've got on the Ilmore. But we did some improvements between the last race and here. Reliability-wise, we did better. Obviously, Stoffel got to the end. It's a shame that Scott had a suspension failure, but he lasted fairly long into the race as well. So that's a positive sign. All round, package seems okay now, going into the last third of the season left to go. So all we can do is go to Fuji and hope that the extra horsepower we've got gives us a bit more of an edge. But we know the Prosts are going to be quick in a straight line at least. So it's going to be a power circuit, and it's going to be one where we're going to have to hopefully try and box a bit clever on strategy like the Prosts did. So I have to commend them for doing a great strategy. And again, I have to commend them and say congratulations to them. They've had as tough a season as we have in terms of reliability. But the fact that Pedro got his first win, as have Prost as well, it's a fantastic result for them. So I can't congratulate them enough. But yeah, P2, solid points, solid money in the bank. Let's go to Fuji and see if we can keep that up. And fingers crossed we have a nice run to end the season. Fingers crossed.
Fantastic. Good result, good performance, and a great display. Congratulations. Let's now talk to the man himself, Tom Cairns, team boss at Prost. You guys had a very tough call when De La Rosa decided to go for a 3-stop strategy. I think a lot of people would have scratched their heads and said that's not the right call. But De La Rosa, what a drive today. Easily the driver of the day. You must be so delighted.
He was most definitely my driver of the day, Jake, without me being biased. He was absolutely on the money today. Right from the very beginning, he made a fantastic start from 6th on the grid to put himself right in the mix for the victory. And his pace was just sensational, particularly on the second stint and on the last stint as well before he got by Alguersuari. I was worried for a moment in terms of whether Alguersuari was going to hold him up and then the Simtex were going to close in on us. But De La Rosa managed to get the job on Alcatraz. Obviously, it was a shame for Jaime, obviously with the engine problem or the oil leak, but that didn't take anything away from how we've done today. We've been absolutely brilliant in comparison to where we were in the last few races. Actually, I mean that's our fourth podium in a row. Actually, four races in a row we've finished on the podium, which is great consistency from us given where we were at the beginning of the season. And I believe now, whilst Topher is working out his maths in the drivers and the constructors, I think we've actually got a chance now in the constructors because of how BAR and Arrows have done today. But that will most definitely boost our morale for the next race in Fuji, which I'm quietly confident that we're going to do as well over there. If we can get both cars in the top 2 or maybe top 3, then that'd be really, really great for us.
Okay, well, a fantastic result, and we're very, very proud for you and all very, very delighted. A fantastic performance, and Prost taking their first victory. Congratulations. So now we have obviously another 4 races to go in the championship. We have been told by race officials that Paul Di Resta, who initially finished the race in 8th position, has been given a 30-second time penalty, and that drops him to P10 behind Taki Inui and behind Andre Lotterer. So the Lola team dropped from 8th place to 10th with Paul Di Resta for ignoring blue flags, and that is a very big penalty for a post-race situation. Very rare for that kind of penalty to be handed out post-race. So a very difficult situation for the Lola team. They will be docked and dropped to 10th position as a result. But obviously, as the field heads to Fuji, it's going to be a very interesting race. The 12th race of the championship is coming up at Fuji. And then, of course, we'll head to the Americas shortly after that with some very exciting races to come. The championship is back on. Vern's lead in the championship does not look as big as it once was. And there's going to be some great races to end the year. I'm Jake Sanson. See you next time.